Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Mindshare Podcast. This is where we cut through the noise, say the things that need to be said, and give you real strategies to help you work smarter, build mindshare, and grow a business that actually makes money. This is episode number 346, and today we're tackling a brutal truth. You're overworked, you're overwhelmed, and somehow you're still falling behind. You're doing all the things, but it's not adding up to more deals, more income, or more freedom. Here's the thing. The problem isn't just the market. It's the way you're spending your time. Whether you're trying to do everything yourself, can't afford help, or have no system to follow, this episode is your wake-up call. We're going to talk about how to get out of survival mode and take control of your business with practical steps that you can act on right now. Let's get into it. Now, just before we dive in, I need to take a second to shout out my friend Luigi Favaro, who was just announced as the new CEO of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association. I've known this guy for years, I've been in his corner for years, and I've been in his corner the whole time throughout this entire decision because I believe that the industry needs real leadership. And this guy gets it. Luigi's been with OREA for a long time, very deserving of this position, and I got no doubt that he's going to do an incredible job for the members of the Ontario Real Estate Association. I mean, he understands what agents are facing. He knows what needs to change. He's got the relationships. He's got the respect. He's seen it all. He's been at every corner of this entire thing. This is the absolute right guy. Huge congratulations to you, Luigi. Looking forward to having you on the show with us real shortly. Now, back to business. Okay, the truth. When people say, I don't have time, first, to me, it sounds like just the biggest bullshit excuse. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, whoa, but I'm busy, I get it. But usually when people say that it means I haven't made time for it, or it means I don't even schedule my time. I actually don't track time, but people won't ever actually tell you that. But I do want you to think about that for yourself as well right now. See, I rarely tell somebody that I'm too busy or that I don't have time. You see, let me phrase that properly. Somebody said to me, do you have 5 minutes? First thing I'm going to do is look at the schedule to see if I've got 5 minutes. And maybe it's not even the first thing I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is continue doing what I'm doing. And then once I'm done doing what I'm doing, then I might go check the schedule to see if I got 5 minutes. You see, we're so quick to please. We're so quick to say yes. We're so quick to veer off the path. But every little degree that we fall off, at some point it compounds and we get so far off track that it's hard to get back on. And then we question, why are we working so hard? Why aren't we doing so much? Why are we so overwhelmed? Why aren't we making enough money? See, time isn't a problem. Priority is. Structure is, and systems are. Most people don't have any of that stuff. And if you're doing everything yourself, chances are you're doing the wrong things. Think about what is your internal genius, okay? What is it for you that you know you do incredibly well, that you are the best at when it comes to what you do in your business? And don't tell me everything, and don't lie to yourself and say, oh, I do it all. I mean, I get it if you do it all, but I want to know what you're the best at. If we took you out of blank role, could somebody fill it? And yeah, maybe you think they'll write better copy for you, or maybe you think they'll record the video, edit the video better, or maybe you think they'll design that thing better. But could somebody else do that? And then ask yourself for what you actually do, what pays the bills. And this is, depending on the line of business you're in, and specific to real estate, as we always talk to, is you're there to help people buy and sell. You're there to market properties. You're there to negotiate. And if that's what you do well, and you're the licensed individual for that, then we need you focused there. And we need you thinking like a CEO, not like a worker bee. Okay, you want to be the queen bee, you want to be the king bee, but you don't want to be the worker bee. Because the worker bee is always just working. So again, as the CEO, your job is to see everything that's going on in your business, but you can't possibly tackle and do everything going on in your business. And if you're always overwhelmed, always behind, and always saying like, yeah, tomorrow, yo, something's broken. Again, there's a lot to do, so it's not that you're going to be able to tackle it all in one single day. But when you do have it laid out where you know what you need to do, you know why you're doing it, so it motivates you and drives you to do it, and then you've got the discipline to take action by scheduling and then actually following the schedule, then at that point, you've got a system in place, but what we need to do is now, again, start to delegate who can help us with what. And I know the first thing that normally people think about is, well, I can't afford to bring somebody on right now. But you got to remember, time is money. Okay? Time is money. And much the same, you could be wasting that time or wasting that money if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which really, when we look at it, in our businesses, as hunters, as owners, is hunting for more business, income-producing activities, as we talk about in our coaching world, IPAs. So you're going to lose time. You're going to lose money if you're not doing the right things. And you've really got to ask yourself, those things that you do on a daily basis, and make a list of these. What are they? Where do you spend your time? And could you, if you actually let go of a little bit of control, could you have somebody step in and give you a hand? And again, if you come back to this thing about money, I'm going to tell you that what you got to be thinking right now is, if you were spending your time on the proper income-producing activities versus those other things, would you be driving more revenue? Would you be making more money? If your answer is yes, then think about what you just said. You got to fear about hiring somebody because you can't afford them. Yet, if you go and do what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, you could afford them and more. Have you even run the numbers? Look, if you're always out of time, you don't need more hours. You need a plan. So some action steps here. Audit your last, call it, let's say 3 to 5 work days. What actually made you money? Look back on it. Look at the activities you did and ask yourself, what actually made you money? Let's argue for a second here that I'm putting up a post on social media for myself, and I expect that that post is going to help me build some mind share and deliver some value to my audience. Now, by doing that, of course, it's going to develop mind share and more brand awareness and send a message and deliver value. But is that the best use of my time? Did that actually make me money? Or did the conversation that I had with that potential client, or the conversation I had with the follow-up person that I met at the open house, was that probably going to be more of a direct line to my next deal than that social media post? Think about that. Okay, so your time is better spent making those follow-up calls all day, every day, than it ever is to post on social media. I'm not saying don't post, but this is again where we could get people to help us. You think about some of the admin work that's being done. This is where we could get people to help us. There's certain tasks that you need to be doing, and there's certain tasks you can definitely delegate. Okay, so again, look back on your last 3 work days and ask yourself what actually made you money. And please do not gauge this based on the fact that, like, did you do a deal in that time frame? It's not about doing the deal, but it's about what you and I both know actually is the driver of that next deal. Okay, another action step here is circle your genius zone, okay? Really, really identify what it is that you do well. What is your most important role in this entire business? What generates the most dollars per hour? That right there is where you need to focus on regular. That's the stuff only you can do. That's the revenue generation right there. The rest of it, we're going to get people to help us. And then last one here is identify, as you're doing this audit, not just the things that are in your genius zone, but go the other direction and ask yourself, what are 2 or 1 to 2, maybe 3 low impact tasks that I could actually delegate or even eliminate? Okay, so we want to find, totally opposite to the stuff that only you can do. Find the stuff that are low impact, stuff that could get other people to do. Now, if you've identified it all and you're thinking to yourself, I have no idea where to go next, throw me a DM. Okay? Reach out to me at David Greenspan 101 on Instagram and ask me the question. And if you don't get a response, because sometimes this stuff obviously goes into spam, or you get so many messages from so many random strangers, and so much of it is bots, send me an email. Send me an email to David at mindshare101.com. Okay? And tell me, Dave, I went through it. I found my genius zone. Not only did I find my genius zone, but I also figured out what I could delegate, but I'm struggling on my next steps. What do I do? Because everybody's situation is unique. So let me know. Okay? Now, moving on here. Talking about discipline, talking about emotion. This economy is tough. Like, this is the hardest, toughest economy we have seen in nearly 20 years up here in Canada. Think about that. We've had some good times, eh? I mean, you could go back over the past 2 decades and really identify some of the times that the economy was just actually bumping. and listen, I want you to do that because I want you to look back and go, what did I miss? What opportunity was right there in front of me that I really just didn't take advantage of that I totally should have? What can I learn from that cycle in the market? Because as we continue to say, what goes up must come down. What goes down must go up. And we are going to be going back up shortly. It's going to happen. Now is the time to start looking, to start buying, to start preparing. Because the things you get into now are the things that are going to go up. They're going to make you more money. And I know, a lot of people I talk to, completely frustrated. As I continue to say so far in this episode already, overwhelmed. People are looking for somebody to blame. But we got to understand, whining to your broker, okay, it's not a strategy. Bitching to people about what you're not getting. Complaining about how hot it is or how busy you are. It's not a strategy. Systems and discipline are. And it's incredible when you stick to the discipline of moving through your system. And you get things done when you know people are taking breaks. And you can do those little things. Or maybe you go take your break, but just before you take your break, you do the stuff that you need to do. The best part is you're doing more than 95% of people are doing. Most people aren't doing this stuff. And as I continue to say to all of our people, all of you within our Mindshare community, we ain't most people. So we got to stop whining. We got to stop worrying. We got to stop complaining. And look, I'll say right now, I know, again, all of you right now that are coaching with me, I know you're not. In fact, when we do our Mindshare, our Mindshare Collective webinars, you guys blow me away with how positive you are and how systematized you are and how locked in that you are. And you got to give yourself a pat on the back for that one. Because there are a lot of people that are not. They allow themselves to operate on emotion. What do they feel like doing today? What don't they feel like doing today? Where do they feel like being anywhere other than work today? Do they feel like making the phone call? Do they feel like recording the video? Do they feel like sending the message? Right? It's like, yeah, we're all going to have our feelings. We're all going to have our emotions. The difference is, can you battle through it? Do you have the mental capacity to say to yourself, hey, I get it. I don't feel like it, but this is what I got to do, and I'm going to do it. We are in control of us. Nobody else is in control of us. Nobody. So going again to your broker and be like, I'm not seeing enough business. What have you done for me lately? They don't have the answers either. They're business owners too. And quite frankly, they're trying to give as much as they possibly can. As I run numbers with brokers and we do our diagnostics, one thing we've learned is brokers have very, very, very slim margins these days. Okay, we're talking like owners, right? Owners of different offices. Very slim margins, which means there's not enough money to go out there to start spending and doing and all this other stuff for you. The splits are fantastic for the agents. And with a tougher economy, it means there's a lot less money to do other fun, exciting things, whatever that be. Either way you slice it, it's not their responsibility to drive your business. It's theirs to help you facilitate it. It's theirs to support you. It's theirs to create an environment that's going to help you. But it's not there to do it. They're not there to do it for you. Stop worrying about how many leads they're going to give you. Stop worrying about, what kind of training they're going to pay for you. And I know that might sound totally ass backwards when I say that, because quite frankly, I think brokers should be paying for some training. I think that it's part of the value add that they put out there. It's got to be the right stuff, and it's got to be for the right people, because it's another thing to say, hey, I want my broker to do all this stuff. But if you don't show up, then what do you expect them to do? And that's one of the biggest problems these days is agents aren't even showing up anymore. Everybody thinks they know it all. Everybody thinks they have the answer. Everybody thinks they're going to be just fine. Yet we sit here saying, but it's a tough economy, and I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm not getting the money I want to make. It's somebody else's fault. Again, systems and discipline are so incredibly important when it comes to running a business, when it comes to achieving a level of success that you want to achieve. And I got to remind you, it's not about getting it all done in a day. Instead, it's about doing the right things every day. So here's some action steps for you, okay? Pick 3 non-negotiables for the upcoming week, okay? And let's call them prospecting. Let's call them follow-up. And let's call them content. Now go block those times into your calendar. Okay, when are you going to do your prospecting? And I want you to pick, literally, I guess maybe for prospecting. You know what? We're going to do each one of these once a day this week. Prospecting. 1 hour. We're talking 5 hours of prospecting. Okay? Follow-up. Follow-up could be 30 to 60 minutes. Because it depends on how many people do you have to follow up with, how many conversations you're having. Let's just even say 60 minutes. We've now got 5 hours of follow-up. And when it comes to content, in fact, what I want you to do is I want you to schedule almost even an hour ahead of the upcoming week. Find some time ahead of the upcoming week. Look ahead to the next, to that week and ask yourself, how many times am I going to post? What day am I going to post? And what am I going to say? And come up with the idea. Think it through. In fact, when was the last time you sent out an email? Like an email blast to your list? Because if you haven't, I'm going to challenge you as well next week. That's part of the content strategy. You're going to put together an email blast that's going to go out to your people. Now, once you put this stuff in, you cannot move it. You need to stick to the schedule. What time are you supposed to be doing it? When is it supposed to be sent out or executed on? Get it done. Commit to yourself. Commit for 7 days. Commit for the week. No exceptions. And every day, when you don't feel like it, have the discipline to remind yourself that most people won't do this. And not only that, but if you put 5 hours into prospecting next week and you put 5 hours into follow-up next week and you've got a little bit of outreach going on through some content strategy, do you think you're probably in a better position than you were this past week to generate another opportunity, another lead, another person that might be saying, hey, they're interested in buying or selling? And do you think if you spent that time following up next week 5 hours, did you spend more than you spent this week? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, I will spend more next week than I did this week, then don't you believe that if you did 10 hours of essentially reaching out and talking to people, there's probably something that's going to come from it? And if you're like, I don't know, it means you haven't tried. So let's go. Much the same if you're like, hell yeah, it's because you do it. So you know what I'm talking about. And if you're sitting there going, maybe not, perfect. There's your challenge. Get to it. Time for a little commercial break. This episode is brought to you by Kids Keep in Touch Systems, your all-in-one CRM that helps you stay top of mind and generate consistent leads. REM Real Estate Magazine, the go-to source for the latest news, insights, and voices in Canadian real estate. Revel Realty, bold marketing, top-tier training, and a powerful culture of growth. Download your free Ultimate Marketing Bundle at mindshare101.com. And while you're there, check out our one-to-one coaching for personalized strategy and accountability. The Mindshare Collective Group Coaching. Again, our private group coaching community. Momentum Training. Our step-by-step action plans to drive results. And of course, reserve your seat for the Mindshare Mastermind. This is a live, in-person, small group event happening right here in Toronto, September 15th to the 17th. Now, this is where real conversations happen. This is where real problems get solved and where real growth starts. We've had some incredible speakers come in. We put on a first-class event. The food is incredible. And beyond all of that, people do more business. Everybody that's there sees a lift in their business, be it through a percentage recognition, a dollar figure. Everybody that's been to this event can attest to the fact that they see a lift in their business because they were there. So you look at it, I'll tell you, tickets ain't the cheapest tickets. They're not your run-of-the-mill kind of like fly-by-night sort of conference. This event is tailored to you. It is put together with a ton of thought, a ton of planning, a ton of strategy. It's not the same old to what you're used to. You're not going to see the same speakers or hear about the same topics. You're going to hear insights from some of the best. People that you would aspire to meet. Maybe people you didn't know existed, but have done incredible things. We blow your mind at this event, and I can tell you right now, I can guarantee you, you will do more business because of it. So you got to look at this as an investment, not as an expense. You're trying to kickstart the back half of your year. You're trying to make sure that the year doesn't just totally fall apart. You're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to get to your next level. Maybe you're an earner who's been in this business for 10 years. You're at a certain income level, which you're happy with, but you know you could do more. You know you could even double that. We're going to get you there. Go to mindshare101.com. Lock in your seat today. I think we've got a handful of seats left. We are getting close. We are almost, we're about a month and a half out right now, maybe less. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. I'm telling you, we're like a month and a half out. There you go. But those seats ain't going to last long. And once we're at capacity, we're at capacity. We cannot fit more seats in this. There's no just like kind of squeezing you in. Again, go to mindshare101.com right now. Get your seat for the Mindshare Mastermind. This is going to be amazing. All right, as we did a commercial break, I needed to take a coffee break, but we are back. We are back, and now that we're back, I want to talk about your midsummer strategy. Okay, we're like sitting here again, dog days of summer right now. It is smoking hot outside. No complaints. I think it's absolutely amazing. Although it kind of feels sticky sometimes, but no complaints. Seeds take time to grow. What you do now, that is where your fall business comes from. And in fact, I'm going to tell you, if you're just starting right now, you're probably late. But better late than never, right? We've got to be working. We've got to be doing. We cannot think we're going to get to the high times of the market, be it spring season, fall season, and obviously this one coming up is going to be fall season. We cannot think we're going to get to the high time of the season, and all of a sudden just turn on the tap. This isn't even the kind of market we're in. So to rest on our laurels and think, we did amazing off the top of the year. I really don't even need to work for the rest of the year. And look, don't get me wrong. I got a bunch of clients that quite frankly are in that position. It's not that they're not going to do any more work, but they're in that position that they don't need to work anymore this year. Nice place to be, isn't it? I would say that that's what discipline, process, systems, and, coaching help you with. So what do we do right now, right? Because, again, you think about a farmer who plants seeds back in the top, like almost the end of the winter. Those crops are not going to bear fruit. They're not going to be ready for consumption until the fall. It's perfect symbolism, connection, whatever, comparison. I don't know. I think that's the word I was looking for. But it's the perfect thing to think to ourselves with our businesses. Just because I made the phone call today, sent out the email today, did the follow-up, did the social post, whatever, the door knock, ran an ad online, you're not just going to get a deal. Got to talk to people. Then you got to have more conversation with people. Then you got to figure out what they want. And then you got to get a signature, hopefully. And then you got to follow up. And next thing you know, it's like weeks on end. And then if you actually get the deal where you're going to be the buyer rep or the listing rep, that part takes time too. So keeping all of this in mind about how much time it takes, we've got to be thinking ahead now and saying, okay, am I truly doing what I need to be doing now? The same way I just challenged you a moment ago to commit for 7 days, no exceptions. Right? We've got to be thinking this way. Seeds take time to grow, and what we do right now is what's going to equal out and result in the business that we get this fall. And I'll tell you, I know I've said it to you. I'll tell you, I don't believe this fall is going to be a super hopping market, so don't get yourself all overly excited. But stick to the process. Right? Trust the process. It works. Keep doing the things you know you need to be doing. And even if you don't feel like they're working right now, at some point they will. And at some point they're going to set you up to get that business that you want. So follow up with those leads. The ones that you've already got, follow up. Do not stop. You've got to keep being there. And I'm not talking call the same person every single day. Obviously, we've got to be strategic. And again, those of you working with me know what the 10-year plan is and know how to operate with that. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, that's a bulletproof follow-up system. Like, you will never miss another follow-up, which means you're going to increase your conversions, which means you're going to generate a hell of a lot more money. Okay, stay visible, right? Keep building the mind share. I know August is that final month before the kids go back to school and life goes back to normal and summertime is over and the whole relaxed time is done. But why not stay status quo? Why not continue to build the mind share? I mean, you want to take a vacay, you want to take a few days off, rock and roll. So just plan before you go. What's got to happen during the time that you're away to make it seem like you still exist? And don't get me wrong, everybody's allowed to take a vacation. But again, to just literally take the vacation and not give two shits about the business around you or the business that you left behind for a few days, it's not the right strategy. Again, you're the CEO. That's careless. You're allowed to leave the business, but you just can't leave it behind. Okay? So again, if I'm looking ahead going, okay, next week I'm going to be going away on vacay. This week is a big planning week. I'm talking to my clients and preparing them for the fact that I won't be, accessible for communication. I'm making sure that all of the marketing that we normally do on a weekly basis is set and ready to go for the next week anyways while I'm away. I schedule my first day back so that when I get back, I've got my system and my process in place. Now when I go away, now I'm allowed to actually be away. I'm allowed to veg out and just get into my own head and do anything but work. I'm allowed to do so because I've set myself up properly. So in saying that, pick up those action steps I just gave you. And again, think to yourself, no matter what I'm doing for this next 30 days, I'm going to make sure I get the stuff done that I need to get done. And I'm not going dark in this month of August. Okay? And that tip I just gave you about if you're going on vacation, plan your first day back, think about it. You get back. And now it takes a day to kind of get yourself back in the groove. And then all of a sudden it's first day to go back to work. You're like, I don't feel like it. And you kind of drag an ass. You're a little bit lazy about it. And next thing you know, this sort of 7-day vacay turned into like an extra 2-3 days. You're now on 10 days. And then it takes time for the momentum to build back up. But if you think the same way that you knew that you had to be at the airport so you could get on the plane for a specific time, then you probably packed your bags and got yourself ready and got yourself to the airport to be on that plane on time, yeah? Okay. Well, same thing. You know that you're going to be flying back home and you're going to be going back to work. So what can you do ahead of time to prepare yourself to, again, make that, board that plane, so-called your work, at your desk, get in your car, whatever it is. Look, if your pipeline's empty, it's because you stopped watering the seeds. It's that simple, right? We are out there like farmers planting seeds all day and then watering those seeds. Plant more seeds, water more seeds. Plant more seeds, water more seeds. What happens when we go through that process? We're going to have a lot of fruit. But you got to do the work. You have to do the work. Okay, so action step on this part. If you're going somewhere, make sure you write your first day back to-do list before you leave, and then schedule those time slots into your calendar. Here's what I know I need to do. Now I'm going to take those items and I'm going to schedule them in. Always keeping in mind the goals that we've talked about, right? Because they dictate a lot of what the actions are in a day. I want you to think about blocking time for like literally outbound lead generation. Whether you're DMing people through social, you're door knocking, you're cold calling, you're running some ads, whatever you're doing. I hope that you're doing it with a plan, not just spending stupid money. It's another day. We'll talk about that. But I want you to block time for that. And I know I challenge you on the 7 days, but I really want you to hone in on 5 days a week, making sure, just going forward for the next even 30 days, that you've put time in to do some outbound lead generation. Okay? Right now, a lot of people are not doing anything. They're not making a lot of those moves. We're hoping that the fall they will. So again, that's the time in August to continue having, that you need to be having those conversations to really spark that opportunity. Maybe there is somebody who's going to, you know what? Yeah, I got to do something in September. But remembering too, September being the fall market, most of those people, just like the plane ride, they already knew that before. They knew they had to make the move in September, October, so they were prepared to do so, and the house is probably already up for sale, or they're already out there shopping for houses. So again, you see what I mean? Like this stuff started a couple months ago for what the activity is really going to go down and the deals are going to happen in September and October. We've got to lock in over here. And I'm not suggesting to you who's listening right now that you are not, because I don't... I may know you, I may not know you, but I can't see you, so I don't know who you are that's like listening to this right now and going, Dave, but I'm doing my stuff. But again, it's a kick in the ass. It's a reminder to everybody, because we see it so often how people just sort of take the summer off and then literally bitch and complain in the fall about what they're not getting, or they take the holiday season off and maybe take time to get back into the groove of things in the new year, and all of a sudden the spring market's not what they wanted. What I'm trying to do is inject some energy into you right now. I'm trying to motivate you and drive you to do. Not to just take the time off and loafed around. The excuses kill me. It's so much bullshit excuses. And I look at that and think like, okay, fine, you got excuses. But like in my mind, if I haven't got excuses, then I know that I'm working harder, I'm doing more, I'm sticking it out. Like here, if you think about it, right, working hard, like nothing we want in life is easy. So I know even when I'm pushing through, I'm making progress. I'm getting myself closer where I want to be. And that's the same way that, again, you want to be thinking. It doesn't always feel good every day. You don't have success every day. You don't always feel like doing it every day. But you got to do it. And then as we talk about this, 5 days a week of outbound lead gen, I also want you to think about, again, a follow-up plan for every single warm lead you talk to. Everybody. Even the people that are like, we'll see. Or the people who are like, yep, we're looking to do something. Like everybody in between that, talk to them. Follow up. Don't miss the opportunity, because that'll be on you. Now, I'm not switching gears here, but a topic that's been coming up a lot lately with my coaching clients, and in conversation with others, is it's about the technology side of the business, and it's about the AI side of the business. And what I want to encourage you here is to really, get in the lab, okay? And you're like, what? Get in the lab? Like, yeah, think about like what you just thought about when I say get in the lab, right? The idea here is to take time to work on your business. So here's something here's the part of the conversation that's coming up, and it's very much revolved around AI. And I actually had this particular conversation with one particular individual, a coaching client of ours, a great guy. And it really spawned this next level of conversation, which it really started to come up a lot more with a lot of people. And I find it incredibly relevant at this point in time right now. And I think it's something that we all need to take a second to acknowledge. Okay. When you go to Google and you used to do a search for something, Google would come back with a list of different results where you may be able to find the answer. Now what happens is when you go to Google and type that in, Google comes back and Gemini, their AI, actually gives you a response and tells you what it thinks and tells you why it thinks that way. And here's the 5 best places to go for it. And what they've done is they've taken the digging out of the equation for us, for the most part, right? They've given us pretty much all we need. Like I don't even need to necessarily click on those links, those search results. Which then begs the question, is SEO, search engine optimization, as important as it was just a few years ago? Now, we could argue that it is because it still puts you towards the top of the results. And based on, putting you towards the top of the results, it's probably what the AIs are going to pick up on. So I don't want to sit here and say SEO is not relevant. What I do want to suggest, though, is that there's a deeper understanding that we all need to have now about how this stuff works and what we can do to optimize for ourselves. And the suggestion really is to use AI, to use, ChatGPT or Gemini, to essentially reverse engineer your competitors. You're like, what? Well, here's the thing. I want to challenge you, and I want to encourage you, I want to suggest to you, however you want to look at that, to go to both ChatGPT and to Google and prompt it with something like, who is the top realtor in, and put your city or your town name, and do this from an incognito tab, okay? Do this from a tab that hasn't picked up data about your browsing history online. We want it to be incognito so that the results are completely unjaded. There's no previous data for the system to pick up on to go, oh, I think she wants to, or he wants to hear about this. Okay, so again, you're using an incognito tab on one of your browsers. You go into chat, and then you're going to go to Gemini, and you're going to prompt with the exact same question, who is the top realtor in? Now, it's going to give you a list of results, and forewarning here, you may not be in that list. What we want to do, though, is we want to take the list that we got from both those platforms, we want to consolidate them. We want to look at who did it recommend, because you might get the same top person, but then a mixed bag of like secondary players. Who knows? Much the same, I would then say change up the prompt from who is the top realtor to who is the number one realtor, who has the most market share in real estate, and again always coming back to your city, and always using the same prompt on both platforms. My point to you is what we're doing is we're collecting a bunch of data right now. We're seeing if based on the prompt, it's going to give us different people or the same people, which is going to tell us whether top or number one or best is going to make a difference. And at the end of the day, what we're going to see is who has really spent a ton of time and energy online trying to make sure that the online systems will recognize them, and who is actually having successes out there based on a lot of the organic stuff that goes up online. By the way you slice it, it's all about the online. Okay, because again, these AI tools are not pulling from thin air. They're pulling from data that is online. Now, once you do your research and you find all this information out, now you've got an idea of who are the top people there. And look, you may know who they are. You may look and say, oh yeah, that she does a ton of business. Or yeah, he's the guy. You see him everywhere. But what it's also doing is it's giving us a ton of data to help us actually go in and beat our competitors. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to reverse engineer the whole thing, and now we're going to say to it, okay, so my name is so-and-so, and I work in such and such town, and these are the people you told me that are the top. Why are they the top? And once you learn why, then go and ask it, how do I beat them? How do I become the top? And it's going to give you a list of steps. So remember, AI doesn't run on emotion. It runs on data. Artificial intelligence. We prompt it, it very, very quickly goes and searches, and then it feeds us back information. Now, it's great at giving opinions. I mean, great. It can give opinions, but everything's got to be taken with a grain of salt here. Remember, if you want more mindshare, you have to earn it. So what I want you to think about right now with this, when we talk about the action step, is going to these different AI platforms, doing the search, comparing the notes that you came up with, really zeroing in on who those top people are, then figuring out why they're the top people by, again, going through prompts with the AI. It'll feed you back data and tell you why. Then you go ask it, how do I beat them? How do I get on the top of this list? It'll start telling you. Now, I can promise you, I can tell you 1,000,000% right now that the consistency of your content is going to be at the forefront of you growing in those lists. So now you got to think for a second. We talk about scheduling, work back scheduling. We talk about planning and preparation and planting the seeds and watering the gardens. We need a content strategy. You need it. If you haven't got one, there's no way to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, you're not putting enough data online. And if you're not putting enough data online, how are you ever going to be recognized at the top? So there is yet another task that needs to be done in your business, which we actually addressed earlier in this episode. But that's one of the ones that I'm telling you now you can have other people help you with. It's not that they have to write all of your content for you, but they can take your thoughts, they can put it together for you, and then you can look at it and proof it and make sure that it's yours. They can help you spark ideas. They can do the actual posting, recording, designing, editing, that step. You don't need to be doing that stuff. So there's one of the jobs we could take off of you. We could delegate to others. And much the same, there's one of those jobs that when we delegate to others and they can be consistent by putting content out there, we can start to be one of the realtors that people find online when they do a search. Look, this is all strategy over here, right? So I want you to think about, again, getting in the lab and thinking about how AI is impacting the business. And instead of thinking, how can I get AI to do my calendar? And how can I get AI to write my offers? And I think there's some very cool stuff out there. What I want you to think right now is, how can AI teach me? How can I leverage it to learn? Because the more questions I ask it, the more data it's going to give to me. And it's like one of the best books you've ever read. Because every question you got, it's got an answer. It's got multiple answers. And it'll give you logic to why those answers. It'll help you think through those answers, which will prompt more questions. And the deeper we go, the more we learn, the more success we have. So I'm going to encourage you to build out the next 30 days of your content based on what your competitors aren't doing well. Learn from the AI. While you're there, ask it to help improve your bio and your profiles and your call to actions on stuff. But start with one small change and then keep building from there. And right now, what I'm suggesting, you do your recon. You understand who you're up against. You understand why they're the names that are out there, and you ask it how to help you beat them. And it will give you the step-by-step. And then now, again, no excuses. Again, I'm challenging you to try that, okay? This is going to be one of the best little exercises you've done for your business. And when you think about competition and the fact that they're always getting, you're not getting, this is going to help you in huge ways. And again, if you got questions, DM me, david@mindshow101.com. Email me. Sorry, that was my email, david@mindshow101.com. DM me at davidgreenspan101 on Instagram. Look, here's the takeaway, okay? This is the toughest economy we've seen in nearly 20 years, and the truth is, no one is coming to save you. You want more deals? You want to stop feeling behind? You've got to take control of your time. You've got to plant the seeds, and you've got to do the damn work. Build your system. Stick to your process. And don't just come back from vacation. Come back with a plan. Because when the market turns, and it will, the ones who stayed consistent will be the ones who win. You've been listening to the Mindshare Podcast, whether it's on your favorite platform or directly from my website, mindshow101.com. Go there, get your free Ultimate Marketing Bundle, learn more about one-to-one coaching, the Mindshare Collective group coaching, momentum training, and of course, don't forget to get your ticket for the Mindshare Mastermind happening here in Toronto, September 15th to the 17th. Follow me at davidgreenspan101 on Instagram and DM me. In fact, do that. Okay, I'm going to challenge you to do that. DM me the biggest time suck in your business. Do that right now. Now that you finished the episode, I want you to DM me. Go to Instagram right now, davidgreenspan101. Be like, Dave, I just listened to episode 365. What number was this? 346. Jeez. Whatever. I just listened to the podcast. How about just say that, okay? I just listened to the most recent episode of the podcast. And the biggest time suck in my business right now is you do that, and I will get back to you with an answer. Until next time, keep building the mind share, because that is how you get the market share. Big thanks to Kids Keep in Touch Systems, Rema Real Estate Magazine, and Revel Realty for sponsoring this episode. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.